Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. According to tradition, Moses is believed to have been the author of some of the oldest and most sacred texts in Scripture. Many scholars and experts assert that he wrote foundational books of the Bible, such as Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and even the book of Job. But what if I told you there is another book attributed to Moses, which has been hidden from most people for centuries? A mysterious book whose ancient copies were discovered alongside the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest known record of the Bible. This book is known as the Book of Jubilees. In this video, we'll explore the enigmatic Book of Jubilees. Could it be a lost book of the Bible? Let's uncover why it was excluded from the Scriptures and the ancient truth it still holds. Why the Book of Jubilees was banned, the hidden, ancient truth revealed. Moses is traditionally considered the author of about 6 books of the Bible, according to prevailing knowledge today. However, there is a fascinating interpretation suggesting that he, in fact, may have written 7 books. This theory parallels the creation of the world. Just as God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th, Moses may also have a work of rest, a 7th book known in ancient Jewish tradition as the Book of Jubilees. This text is often called the Little Genesis or Lesser Genesis, Leptogenesis, as it includes facts, curiosities, and mysteries absent from the Book of Genesis. The Book of Jubilees is an ancient Jewish work with approximately 50 chapters and 1,341 verses. This book is considered canonical by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and the Beta Israel, the Ethiopian Jews. In Ethiopian tradition, the Book of Jubilees is called the Book of Division and is preserved in Ge'ez, a Cushitic Semitic language descended from the language of Cush, one of the oldest liturgical languages of Ethiopia. This unique text deepens the understanding of creation accounts and other early biblical events, providing a perspective that broadens the narratives found in Genesis, exploring elements of Jewish history and cosmology in detail. In the time of Christ and the centuries before, the Book of Jubilees was widely read and respected by Jews, rabbis, teachers, and doctors of the law, who frequently referenced it in debates and teachings. Although contemporary Judaism does not recognize it as canonical, the Book of Jubilees maintains its sacred status among Ethiopian Jews, known as Beta Israel, whose tradition preserves this work as an essential part of their spiritual and cultural heritage. Among early Christians and throughout the period of early Christianity, the Book of Jubilees was also well known and frequently cited. Various ancient authors referred to it, such as Epiphanius, Justin Martyr, Origen, Diodorus of Tarsus, Isidore of Alexandria, and George Cedrenus, among other scholars. These early Christians viewed the Book of Jubilees as a complement to biblical texts, particularly Genesis and Exodus, using it to reinforce their arguments, highlighting essential aspects of Jewish tradition. In that context, it was regarded by many as a canonical text, a reliable source that helped provide depth and continuity to the biblical narrative. Additionally, the Book of Jubilees was valued by several Jewish communities of the time, including the Qumran community near the Dead Sea. Fragments of this book were found among the famous Dead Sea Scrolls, indicating that this work was highly relevant and widely disseminated. Curiously, despite its importance, no complete version of the book has survived in Greek or Latin, languages in which it is believed to have circulated in antiquity. The only complete version of the Book of Jubilees available today has been preserved in Ge'ez, the ancient Ethiopian language, reinforcing the deep connection of this text with Ethiopian religious tradition and its importance in the history of sacred literature. With the discoveries made in the Qumran cave among the Dead Sea Scrolls, we now know that the Book of Jubilees is over 2,200 years old and was used by Jews from the time of Christ and earlier, as well as by early Christians. Before the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the only complete version available was the Ethiopian version in Ge'ez, which proved to be an extremely reliable copy. By comparing this Ge'ez version with the fragments found at Qumran, a remarkable fidelity was observed between them, with no significant alterations. Thus, the Ethiopian version was confirmed as an accurate translation of the ancient text. The Book of Jubilees presents a detailed narrative on the division of time, describing the days of the law, annual events, weeks of years, and jubilees of the world as revealed to Moses, who is considered the author according to tradition. This revelation, transmitted to him by angels of God during the 40 days and 40 nights he spent on Mount Sinai, grounds the book's chronology in multiples of 7, with jubilees corresponding to 49-year periods, or cycles of 7 weeks of years. According to tradition, Moses is said to have recorded the contents of this book during his communion with God and the angels on Sinai. Between 1855 and 1931, it was believed that the Book of Jubilees could have been written by a Pharisee, a hypothesis proposed by scholar Robert Henry Charles. He suggested that Jubilees was possibly crafted from midrashic interpretations that already influenced the Old Testament's chronicles. However, with the Qumran discoveries in 1947, the theory that a Pharisee authored the Book of Jubilees was completely discarded, as the text's content is considered much older, dating to approximately 200 years before Christ. The question of the Book of Jubilees dating has posed a challenge for scholars, as various dates have been proposed based on handwriting analysis. Some experts suggest a dating around 100 years before Christ, while others point to 150, 180, or even 200 years before that same era. Today, there is a consensus among some researchers that the Book of Jubilees is a copy of an even older text, possibly dating back 2,200 years, reaching back to the period of Babylon or the Persian Empire. This copy is viewed as a version of an original document that would have been written by Moses, thus establishing a direct link to the time of its authorship. The dating of the Book of Jubilees remains a challenging topic for biblical scholars. The oldest copies of the book, based on handwriting analysis, are attributed to periods between 200 and 150 years before Christ. However, thanks to the Dead Sea Scrolls, we know that the dating of the copy we currently possess is entirely consistent with the Ethiopian copy and the oldest version found among the Dead Sea manuscripts, dated to 200 years before Christ, approximately 2,200 years ago. Surprisingly, an even older copy of the Book of Jubilees, dated between 600 and 700 years before Christ, was also discovered. This positions the text as one of the oldest records of Jewish traditions, highlighting its historical relevance and long-standing presence within the religious and cultural context. An interesting curiosity about the Book of Jubilees is that it makes several mentions of the Book of Enoch, recognizing the latter as one of the oldest records, dating back approximately 300 years before Christ. In antiquity, the Book of Jubilees was quickly adopted by the Hasmoneans, who regarded it as a primary source for the Aramaic document of Levi. The text of the Book of Jubilees mentions 4 classes of angels: the angels of presence, the angels of sanctification, the guardian angels who protect individuals, and the angels who govern natural phenomena. These angelic categories are also discussed in the Book of Enoch. Moreover, it is believed that these 4 types of angels were created on the first day of creation, underscoring their importance within the context of Jewish theology and cosmology. The Book of Jubilees, like the Book of Enoch, also narrates that the fallen angels united with mortal women, resulting in the emergence of a race of giants and monstrous beings known as the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen. But ultimately, why was this book excluded from the Christian canon? Between the 4th and 5th centuries, councils and debates on canonization, such as the Council of Laodicea and the Council of Carthage, aimed to establish an official list of sacred texts to unify the growing Christian faith. These councils selected the books they deemed essential and reliable for Christian doctrine. Texts like the Book of Jubilees, already viewed as non-canonical by Rabbinic Judaism, were excluded from the Christian canon, mainly due to their association with traditions of minority groups like the Essenes of Qumran. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, however, has preserved the Book of Jubilees in its canon to this day. Historically, Ethiopian Christianity developed independently of dominant Western and Eastern influences, maintaining ancient traditions and texts discarded by other churches. They consider the Book of Jubilees a valuable source of knowledge and tradition regarding creation, the role of the patriarchs, and divine law. Although excluded from the main canon, the Book of Jubilees remains significant for biblical and theological study, offering a unique perspective on sacred history and ancient beliefs. It helps us understand the diversity of thought and faith among Jewish and Christian communities of antiquity and sheds light on the texts that directly influenced the Dead Sea Scrolls. In summary, the Book of Jubilees was excluded from the Bible's canon due to its unique interpretations and theological practices which diverged from accepted doctrines. However, in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, it continues to be valued and respected, preserving a tradition that offers a glimpse into a remote time and a profound faith still relevant today. I highly recommend reading the Book of Jubilees to all of you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Share your thoughts on the book if you have read it and on the ancient content it presents. May God bless you and see you soon.